Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin are warning that the United States may withhold military aid to Israel if it does not improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza in the next 30 days. This comes as the Israeli military escalates its attacks across the Gaza Strip, focusing mainly on the northern city of Jabalia. At least 50 Palestinians were killed on Tuesday alone. For more, I want to bring in Seth Jones. He's the president of the Defense and Security Department and Harold Brown Chair at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Seth, thanks for being with us on Monday. The United States said it would.
Thank you very much.
On Monday, the United States said it would send anti-missile systems and troops to Israel. On Tuesday, Secretaries Blinken and Austin, as we've been reporting, said military aid to Israel might be paused or if the humanitarian situation in Gaza doesn't improve. Help us understand those two, if they're in conflict or if they represent two different tracks. How do you read that?
Well, I don't think they're necessarily in conflict right now. Where the Israelis have big challenges, we saw them with the last range of ballistic missiles that Iran fired against Israel, some of which penetrated Israeli air defenses and also hit targets, including Israeli bases. They need help with air defense, air and missile defense. They do have Arrow, Iron Dome, David Sling, but that is not enough. When the Iranians and Iranian partners have a lot of standoff weapons they can shoot from Iran, as well as Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and other countries. So the THAAD battery that the U.S. Deployed to Israel will be really helpful here. The munitions the U.S. has provided will be helpful. At the same time, the U.S. is also signaling to the Israelis that they need to increase their humanitarian aid packages to Gaza, or they risk unspecified, and that's important, unspecified amounts of future military aid.
That's exactly the unspecified nature of it. I mean, is there a way in which, if the U.S. were to withhold military aid, the devil's in the details, right? I mean, they could do a symbolic thing, or they could really hurt the Israeli effort. Is that a way to think about it?
Yeah, I suspect at this point with the standoff missile and drone threat, rockets and others coming from the region targeting Israel, the U.S. is not going to withhold defensive systems like air defense systems like the THAAD, which was just deployed. What they might do, and has been discussed in the past, is withhold for some period of time large diameter bombs that the Israelis have used to strike targets in Gaza, like 2,000-pound bombs that have killed civilians in Gaza. Those offensive weapons are ones that they might withhold for some period of time. But I don't think it would be a blanket withholding, and I certainly don't think it would be a withholding of defensive aid.
Finally, the conflict with Iran and Hezbollah, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said Tuesday that Israel's national interests will determine their retaliation against Iran, not their interests with respect to the United States. How do you read that, and how does that help you understand what Israel might do in retaliation, which everybody expects, against Iran?
Well, I think it's also important that the Israelis have publicly noted that they're, at this point, not going to hit nuclear targets and some of the oil and gas targets. I mean, I think at the end of the day, this is Netanyahu signaling that he's going to do everything to protect his own domestic population. They're not going to, they're not going to be stopped by the U.S. or anyone else to protect Israel's security. This is, after all, from an Israeli perspective, the country's survival is at stake after October 7th of last year. What I think it does mean is, and I think it's important, that Iran has now launched 2 different salvos of missiles and drones and other standoff weapons against Israel directly, as opposed to partners. So I think Israel is going to plan to strike a range of targets, military bases, command and control facilities, but they've just signaled it's not going to be nuclear targets and probably not some of the economic infrastructure. But I think they feel very strongly that they've got to hit back hard, because this is now the second time they've been directly hit from the Iranians.
Seth Jones with the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Thanks, as always, Seth.
Thank you very much.